Well, hello, this is Men on Pause. And we got Act Accordingly Daniel J. Williams, the Right Reverend Doctor. And then you got Robert Cockfield. And
We're here.
so we going to go into the Lion's Den today. The Lion's Den. Got to go in the den. And you going in the den, man. So, what you talking about? You told me we need to talk about something today. What is that? What we going to talk about today? You said something. You remember what you told?
Oh man. You
I'm
know what?
gonna help
You
you.
had to bring it back to my memory. You talk about so many things.
We did. So check this out, right? So based on our last conversation, we had talked about the lies we tell, and we was talking about before we get in these relationships, there's some things that we need to make sure that we get done. Like if you don't get these things done, there's gonna be some issues, some problems, and that's gonna get you to lying and doing some crazy stuff. And so I done my homework since we last talked, and so I'm gonna throw this out here and then start from here. And I think this was get it going, right? So most important, relationships are constantly being tested by cautious lovers who like to nibble at the bait before swallowing the hook. This testing procedures takes many forms, but it usually involves pulling backward from the other person to see what will happen. Perhaps a foolish fight is initiated. Maybe 2 weeks will pass without a phone call, or sometimes filtration occurs with the rival, or we compare each other as in a relationship. I'm comparing her to some other woman, and vice versa. There's other words. There's some things in others, traits or whatever that they would like to see, but it's silent, or they bring it up. And maybe 2 weeks again will pass without a phone call, or perhaps a foolish fight is initiated. Sometimes this filtration becomes a rival. In each instance, the question being asked is, how important am I to you? And what would you do if you lost me? An even more basic issue lies below that one. It wants to know, how free am I to leave if I want to? It is incredibly important in these instances to appear poised, secure, equally independent. Do not grasp the other person and beg for mercy. Some people remain single throughout life because they cannot resist the temptation to grovel when the test occurs. Now, here's the point. I'm going to simplify all of that. So, you get in this relationship, and then all of a sudden, they see something, you see something. Or you see each other different. And then you start being different, acting different, and just acting a fool. And nobody ain't saying nothing. They try to act like everything's cool until boom. And then all of a sudden, then we playing cat and mouse. And so my point is, how important is that in a relationship to not do such a thing? Because here's my thing, right? So I thought about this. I was like, if you're gonna be in a relationship with somebody, number one, I'm not gonna measure up to nobody else, no other man. That's impossible. Or she can't measure up to another woman. That's impossible, because then you're negating the fact that God built us. He's the architect. He's the engineer. He's potter and clay, right? So that's not gonna happen. Two, he put us on a planet for a reason. So that purpose and intent is important. So I can't do what you do, vice versa. I wasn't born when you was born. I'm not you, vice versa. But here's the big thing. In this relationship, there's three things that I think is important. Concrete in a relationship. Two, purpose and intent, because without God, you have no purpose and intent. And so, therefore, time, talent, and treasure gets wasted when you don't know why you're on the planet. And when we chase money, things, think about this, or we make it about sex or that kind of stuff, that's usually an indication that relationship is in trouble. Because where are we going with that? Like, how does that work? So I wanted to start off with that. Like, why are we getting these relationships, and then all of a sudden we go in different directions? We aiming for something that do what? It don't move a needle. It don't change nothing. We make it worse by thinking that we gonna chisel somebody. And you brought that up last time we talked. So I said, no, this time you told me. You said, no. Ain't be none of that chiseling and shaping, because what? Like, we can't change anybody. We ain't God. So what's your
Right,
thoughts?
right. Hey, well, you know what? You were hitting a whole lot of points. And number one is what I'm going to say is that, you know what, before they even go in to enter into a relationship, if they don't have a solid and concrete knowledge and insight of who they are, what their purpose for, they're so busy worrying about relationships and don't even know who they are, what their purpose for, what God designed them for, what their assignment is, because it would be so much easier to match up with who's your divine mate, who he ordained for you, when you know exactly who you are, the direction you're going. So now you know how to look for what complements you, rather than you looking at what's going to gratify your pleasure center. Because a lot of these relationships, most of these relationships, they're entered into for the sole purpose of pleasure. What am I going to get? What am I going to get from it? What am I going to enjoy from it? They're never entered into with a mindset of, this is the person that compliments me. Well, we're going to build something great. We're going to have a great influence, because that's what God designed relationships for. He designed them for the purpose of coming together to have influence somewhere, to influence others in a positive direction, to build something that'll be long lasting. It wasn't for the sole purpose of sexual gratification. And that's why most relationships are entered into, whether they want to admit it or not, whether they want to be straightforward and say, nah, that's not. But the first reason why, and you know, they like to put it on us as men and saying we're visual creatures, so we're always looking at the aesthetics of the woman first. The women do the same thing. I mean, God gave them more for us to look at, but I've been around a lot of work with a lot of women, been in a lot of women's groups, and the women, they check out a man's physique. They say, oh, first thing they do, they look at it. I'm gonna check his package, see what he packing, what he looking like in the inseam of his pants.
Yeah.
You know, that looking at the size of our hands, our feet, stuff like that. Women do the same thing that men do, but we just continue to let society and the rules that they set push us down, like we're just predators. All we are predators. We just go out and we just stalk women for our pleasure. Women do the same thing, but when going into those relationships, they go sideways quick. Number one, because the person they don't know who they are, first of all, so they don't know how to look for what's going to complement them, what's going to enhance the better qualities of them. So when they go in there looking for pleasure, then your lowest nature is what's at the top. You're operating from your lowest vibration, your lowest nature. And then you end up getting the repercussions of entering into it wrong.
Yep. And let me throw this out here. So what you just said was priceless, because is it really about what you want, or is what you need in a relationship? So I had to learn that. Like, I'm learning that right now. It's like, first of all, I'm being honest, right? So when you spend this amount of time that me and my spouse spent, and then we made a pact. We said, well, if the marriage don't work, we'll be best friends for life, right? But then I had to ask myself, like, what does the word friend mean? Like, what the hell does that mean? Yeah, I said it. What the hell does friend mean? Because I didn't know. I still don't know. I'm still figuring it out. Now I'm speaking for me. But I'm going to go a step further. Like you said, is a relationship really about, or any relationship for that matter, is it about what you want or what you need? Now, how you gonna know what that is? And I'm reading Miles Monroe stuff all over, and this is what he said.
Oh yeah.
The deepest craving of the human spirit is to find a sense of significance and relevance. The search for relevance in life is the ultimate pursuit of mankind. And he just basically summed it up. And I'm reading the Bible and saying, okay, don't have God first. That's concrete. I don't care what your relationship is. And then two, if you don't know the purpose and intent that he gave, we ain't gonna never figure out how we gonna be one or even work together, because it's always gonna be somebody trying to compete or clamor for more than what you can give or what's expected. And that's hard pill to swallow because where's the benchmarking standard? So everybody, it's kind of like the Wild West. You know, everybody got their own interpretation. And then where's God? Where's the concrete? If that makes sense, what I just said.
You know, friend, there's so many definitions that they have in the dictionary, but so, you know, we'll go to the scripture. We'll go to scripture. God, you know, there's a certain standard, a certain way that we have to behave towards God in order for him to call us friend, which is being obedient to him, being faithful to him, because he's faithful to us no matter what. Whether we're good to him or not, he's good to us. So what a friend is really, you think about God. That's a friend. He's good to us no matter what. So a friend is supposed to be somebody who comes along to make you better, to enhance you, to mature you. Like they say, iron sharpens iron. If they're not coming into your life to enhance you and make you better, they're not a friend. They're actually being an enemy, because if they're hindering you, if they're hurting you emotionally, they're hurting you mentally, if they're causing you to slow down and you can't pursue your best, then they're being an enemy, actually. I mean, we start defining the lines and making it just as simple and clear as that. Not so much going into it like, because these relationships, we enter into the relationships saying, okay, what is it that she have that's going to benefit me? Instead of going in, because when we know ourselves, we already know who we are, what we carry, and what we're going to do. And nothing's going to misalign that. Nothing's going to derail what we're doing. So when we meet somebody, we ought to tell immediately, this person they're not an asset to me. They're a liability. When we start talking about our past and start being honest and having the questions and everything, and you know, oh man, she's damaged goods. She's hurt from the last relationship because she keeps saying, well, he used to do this for me. He used to do this for me. Can you? Will you? That's a sign right there not to even enter. Because all you're going to be doing is competing with a guy that you didn't even know.
Yeah, and you know what? Now here's another taboo topic. People don't want to, they don't want to have this discussion. But I had it with somebody this past week, and this person's married, and she said this. She said, "Man, I got married to a person, but my head and my heart was there, still there." And she said, "But then I'm here." And I said, "Whoa." So she said, this is exact words. She said, "Man, how do you compete with your first love, your first child, your first girlfriend, your first marriage, your first?" She said, "That's tough when your head and your heart is somewhere else, but you're physically right here. That's tough." And I, you know what? I had to own that. I said, "Man, that's deep." Because then, am I that person? Have I been that person? And I think when you start out relationships like that, you're in trouble when your head and your heart is somewhere else, but you're physically present, and then you trying to consummate wood. And then God ain't. Where's God? And where's the concrete? So then, I made this comment to somebody. I said, "Listen, don't get these three confused. There's concrete." I'm going to make concrete real plain. Concrete is, at the end of the day, these are the things that necessitate me having to do what I do on a daily basis. And that should match, again, your purpose and intent. You don't screw the concrete up. Now, business, when I say business, whatever other business you got going on, if it's going to screw up that foundation, which is God and the tools, time, talent, and treasure, or the technology and the tools and human capital that's needed in your life, you done jack that up. And then going to the third piece is don't get booty, I said it, confused with your concrete and knowing who God is. And I think that goes back to what she was saying. Hey, man, my head and my heart is still somewhere else, and it's been there. I didn't find this out till later. And so then, so you with the person, but you ain't with the person. Can you help me out with that? Can you please help me?
This is what I'm gonna say. and yo, they're not, nobody's gonna like it, but that's just absolute selfishness.
Wow.
You know you're not healed. You know that you're not healed. You know you haven't gotten over it. But the drive to follow the rules of society to say you have to be in a relationship, you need to be in a relationship, you have to be coupled to somebody. That's selfish for you to know that you're still in love with somebody else and you haven't let go of that. You haven't been healed from it. You haven't walked away from it for you to go and lie to somebody else and say, I'm with you, when you know that you're never going to give them your heart, that you're never going to be there. So why be so selfish and take somebody else through a traumatic relationship? They may have been a perfectly fine person. Now you going in being selfish and you're going to traumatize that person. They're coming in thinking that they're getting all of you. I'm giving all of myself to you, but you only giving me the physical part of you, what I can see and what I can hold and what I can touch. But I haven't touched you emotionally. I haven't touched your heart because it's still someplace else. That's just selfish to go into a relationship. Stay out of a relationship until you're actually ready to go into a relationship and give yourself physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually to somebody.
Right.
And that's basically all I got. This is selfish when we know that our heart is someplace else. Why even move on? Why even do that? Why do that to somebody else?
Well, and I think the real concrete discussion, you just had it, is who are you? See, I keep going back to that because when you don't know who is God and I ain't figured out who I am, we're going to have some problems because that's that being tested. That's why I read that statement starting out. That's the test. And then pulling back. And the enemy who kind of kill, steal, and destroy is not stupid. He know what to do. He, like you said, you started out the gate saying, guess what? Men and women looking at packages and, what somebody got compared to got and all that other stuff. And when you make it about stuff, you make it about money, or you make it about me, or it's my turn, my time. And we all guilty of that.
You started with sand. You don't even have no concrete. You got sand.
Yeah, that's it. And then you finally wake up one day, and that's me. And then you like, wait, oh. Now I'm almost 60. I'm saying, wait a minute, man. Like, how do I get that right? And that's kind of my next thing, because when you start thinking about it, we already been infiltrated in the relationship. And I think, how do you recover from things like that? And the question I'm gonna ask you, because I was reading in 1 Corinthians 16 and 14, let all that you do be done in love. And you don't even know how to do that. But we go to church, we saved, sanctified, and filled with the Holy Ghost. That's what we say. We check the box. I go to the box, but we don't even know how to do that. Like, again, let all that you do be done in love. And we lying when we know we doing some stuff that's hateful, resentful, and mean as hell. How do you handle that? Now we're in the relationship. What do you do with it? Oh.
Hey, honestly, I'm gonna keep saying this before I give my statement and say honestly, you know what? Honestly, if it's not really love there, you just holding on to it for some kind of false loyalty, you might as well break the relationship. You need to go back to your corner and go back to, like we say, you need to go back to finding out who God says you are. Because until you know who you are and what you have to offer, what's your purpose? What's the meaning for me being here? What do I, not so much what I have to give to another person and what I have to offer in a relationship, but what do I have to offer to the world? What am I here to participate in and give to the world for it to be better? When you find out your true meaning and purpose in that, then you're grounded. God has you grounded. Now you're grounded because all right, this is the direction I'm going. And now you got You've got boundaries. You set boundaries. I'm not going to do. I know I don't need to be doing these things because it's going to take me out of the trajectory of where I'm supposed to be headed. I'm not going to allow these type of people to come in because that doesn't go in alignment with where I'm going. That's going to pull me off. And once you got those type of boundaries set for yourself and you respect your own boundaries, then people who come in contact with you, they're going to automatically respect your boundaries. Some that's unspoken, and then the ones that you have to speak. And then you can start looking at relationships, because now you're not looking solely with your eyes, but you're looking at the quality of the person's character that you're being involved with.
Yeah.
When you get to talking to them, that conversation will let you know immediately, nah, they're not in the same place that I'm in. They don't know who they are, the direction that they're going, their meaning the meaning of their life. They don't know the meaning of their life. So how would they know what to contribute to me?
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. See, and I'm gonna read this. This need for significance, and I'm saying this for a reason. This need for significance is the cause of great tragedies. Many suicides, attempted suicides, owe their manifestation to this compelling need. Many mass murderers, serial killers confess the relationship of their antisocial behavior to their need to feel important or to experience a sense of self-worth. Now, I'm saying all that, I'm finna put myself out here, right? So I grew up in the hood, Peoria, Illinois. And before the age of 10, all this happened. Molested about 4 men. Alcoholic, age 8. Doing and selling drugs. Man, I'm sitting up here, I'm wreaking havoc, right? I don't know what the hell is going on. I'm 30 foot from a church. I'm living in a parsonage. And one of the guys that molested me, I never forget this like it was yesterday. That joker took me in an abandoned building, abandoned house behind my house, which was 30 foot from the church, and they about to have church. And this guy, he molested me, and in the act, his plan was to kill me. I ain't supposed to be here. I got plenty of other stories, but that's just one of them. Church service starts, and he gets convicted, and then says, you know what? Today is your day. I'm going to let you go. And I've never forgotten it. Now, I said all that to say this. Imagine you had all that chaos, all that craziness going on, and then you grow up later, and then it's just something innate in you that tells you that you're supposed to be a preacher. You're supposed to run a community center. You're supposed to run businesses. You're supposed to. And then I find out that you don't know who God is. And you got all that craziness. And you bring that into a relationship because you don't know what to do with it. See, you just box it up, put tape on it, small, medium, large boxes. And then when certain incidents, which that's why I was talking about earlier, when your relationship get tested, somebody accidentally opens a box or Pandora's box. Now what? What do I do with that? Oh, okay. I tell you what. I don't want to lose you, or I don't want to feel embarrassed, or I don't want people to know my story. I tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna deny the power of God, and I'm gonna act like God didn't do what He did. And I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna box that back up, and I'm just gonna act like I'm cool. And these hobbies and habits don't leave. You still drinking, smoking weed, popping pills, doing all this stuff, and you looking half decent or normal to some people, and some people you look a little crazy going on. But it's all because of what we talking about, which, man, that foundation, concrete, man, not there. And then so people still in relationships, and they struggling with this because they're worrying about what they gonna lose. Where is God in all of that? When is it? Because at the end of the day, man, if I ain't got Him, I'm just gonna continue with the same hobbies and habits, and I'm just gonna self-destruct, and I never will fulfill my purpose and intent. So what's your thought process on that?
Man, man. Ooh, that's heavy. That's heavy. You know, like you said, God is He's the nucleus. He's the glue. And for some things, like, man, like, oh, Jesus. Deliverance, man.
Yeah.
when we actually truly see them, yeah, because we don't understand the things that has happened to us, and like, how can this happen to me? I was so vulnerable. How does this not supposed to happen? And then is the more you seek God in the answers of not so. I think it's a matter of when we seek Him. It's asking. It's like sometimes it's not a matter of you have to question God, but it's a matter of the right questions in order for you to get the thing that you really need. Mm-hmm. Instead of asking why, we ask why first. Why is always the first question. We want resolution to it rather than to get the healing for it first. If we go and seek the healing for the thing and the deliverance for it first, He's going to tell us the why. The why is always because it's for somebody else. Yep. It's to help somebody else that's entering into a thing in the middle of it, or they're close to the end, but they don't know how to get out, how to be released, how to have that thing released, how to have that thing to release them so they can detach from it as well, how to give it to God. So when we ask Him, it's like, okay, Lord, give me the strength to be able to move through this thing, deliver me from it. And then once He delivers you from it, He pulls you back and He gives you a high vantage point. And then you're able to see all of the other questions that you were asking before the deliverance. We don't usually ask for the deliverance first. We want to know the reason. Why did it happen? Why me? What did I do? And like you said, and then when people go into relationships and all that is a transference of demons. It's a transference of influences. You get into a relationship and now nobody has God isn't in the middle of it. So there's even more hysteria and pandemonium added to what we was already carrying. Yep. That person, they transfer something to us. We transfer something over to them. But you know, if we met the person that they were grounded in God, when we come in and we have these things, we don't overwhelm them. The God in them can overwhelm us, and we find our answer in the God that's in them. And like you said, that goes back to what I'm saying. Whoever, when we enter into a relationship, somebody has to be carrying the strength that we need. That other person needs to be carrying that missing element. I don't want to say missing element, but they're carrying the strength to our weakness. That's what ends up making a relationship complete. Whatever she's weak in, I'm strong in that. Whatever I'm weak in, she's strong in that. So there's really no weakness. So when you got two weak people together, you're going to have a weak thing. When you got two broken people together, it's going to remain a broken thing.
Well, I was reading 1 Corinthians 9:26. Therefore, I do not run like someone running aimlessly. I do not fight like a boxer beating the air. Yeah, and see what I'm saying? Like you're doing what? And that doing what is like really that's aimlessly living. And it comes a point where how do you even fix that when you trying to mimic men or another woman instead of mimicking who God is? That's what I had to realize, because the hobbies and habits is not gonna leave until you get delivered. Like, you know, I'm dealing with it. So, you know, it comes a point where you just say, you know what? I ain't got nothing to be ashamed of. I just want God. That's it. Period. That's what I need. That's what I want. I am perfect. I'm striving for that, which I'm going to throw this out here. So this extending the same concept, keep in mind that virtually every relationship that continues for a year or more and seems to be moving towards marriage or not will be given the ultimate test. A breakup will occur motivated by only one of the lovers. The rejected individual should know that their future together depends on the skill with which he or she handles that crisis. If the hurting individual can remain calm, the next two steps may be reconciliation and forgiveness in the relationship. It often happens that way. If not, then no amount of pleading will change anything. So this is what I'm saying. I'm gonna narrow that down. So how many times you said it, right? This is a merger. This is two corporations coming together, and somebody has something that the other don't have in his business. And then I'm sitting here, I'm so busy trying to be me, my corporate self, and you steady trying to be your corporate self. And then we hiding a whole bunch of stuff in the corporation. The books is cooked. Like it's bad. You got bad books, right?
Yeah.
Enron, numbers run. They just bad numbers. And then we turn around and spending so much time trying to hide stuff instead of just being transparent, not realizing that truth is what's going to deliver you. So what you end up doing is you leave the relationship without completing each other. Now I say leave the relationship. Transparency has to be totally on the table. So that causes people to lie, because this is this jacked up, uneven exchange, right? Where, okay, I'll tell you my dirt, lay yours on the table. Oh no, I'm, oh no. Add to this, right? We talked about this last time. Communication. What if introvert, extrovert? You already know how that's gonna go. It's gonna be one side gonna be laying it down, and then the other side, I don't know how to handle that. I don't communicate as is. That's one. I'm just giving scenarios. Or it could be two people that's just type A, and man, they hear certain things and they coming at it. Boom! I don't care if you're married or not married. Or this third scenario is you got somebody think they Jesus Jr., right? They so religious that they hiding behind that. And so they so busy trying to tell the other person how to be fixed. And they themselves is janky. Yeah, I use that word. I know that vernacular wasn't right, but you know what I'm saying? So what's your thoughts on that, right? This is what I just said.
Man. Hey, like you said, that communication. Hey, even if one's an introvert and one's an extrovert, people got to start paying attention to see if they're walking with God, then they would have the discernment to know who is for them and who's not. What they're able to define the type of relationship they should be having with a person. Because when I met my so I like my wife, her and I are an example of an extrovert and introvert. She's really a stay to herself and doesn't like a lot of attention, doesn't talk much. But when we first met, she was like, I couldn't tell she was an introvert, because she was like, oh man, she's like, I was on the phone and she said that it was just a level of comfort with you, just felt comfortable. So when you enter into these relationships, it's supposed to be effortless. When you're matched, when that's the one that's for you, it's supposed to be effortless. You shouldn't have to try and impress. You just feel like comfortable with actually just being yourself. So what we normally do with relationships is we come in as illusionists.
Yeah.
And we come in and we paint an illusion. We paint an illusion for them, and we've been painting illusions from relationship to relationship that we're lost in our own illusions. We don't even know how to portray the real person, because we done got caught in the illusion and given so many illusions that we actually live in them. So we don't even know how to come out and be honest and say, this is who I am. This is what I struggle with. This is what I've overcome. This is what I'm looking forward to. This is what I like to. She's like, yo, and then you go into the relationship questioning the person, not of what they have so much, but you want to find out more. So I think the best way for going in is finding out where are they deficient, where they're deficient, where are they weak.
Yeah.
Because when you find out a person's deficiencies and their weaknesses, now you know whether you're strong enough to enter into a relationship with them, whether or not whether you're strong enough to connect with them. Because when you find out their weaknesses and their deficiencies, and you have the same ones, it's like, nah, we're not going to be any benefit to each other.
Yeah. And I think it comes down to what you're willing to lose to gain. When I say gain, like for instance, you know, a lot of times we'll depend entirely upon one another for satisfaction of every emotional need, maintain interests and activities outside that relationship, even after marriage, right? So we guard ourselves against selfishness in the affair or this relationship, and neither the man nor the woman should do all the giving. And so what happens, you know what I'm saying? Like that's going back to what you just said. And I brought that up because really, honestly, is it so much that I'm deficient and you're efficient when we know that's not true? Like there's no perfect human being on the planet.
Right.
And if you didn't get that right coming out the gate, right? We didn't have that discussion. God forbid what's going to happen later. And what does that teach our children, right? The lie. It does. Like I'm doing Constance Anthology. My section was the lies we tell, right? So I put out there how I grew up. And so one of the things I have to give my children, they'll tell me in a heartbeat, say, hey man, we love your transparency, because if you don't do that, we're going to do the same things. And the very things that they despise about their parents, they are. I'm the same way. I didn't get that, man. I just thought, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just going around here, man, my parents, they did this and that and that. And I guarantee you, everything them jokers did, I'm doing or I did. And I'm like, oh my God, man, that was kind of judgmental there. And the Bible tells us we ain't supposed to be judging each other.
Yeah.
But how many people in our lives, in our village, we done that to? Church folks, kids, everybody. Because we thinking you one up on everybody. And you nasty. You got your stuff too. So, I guess my thing is, today's discussion, I wanted to be about, hey, before you get into this, any relationship, man, you got to put all your cards on the table. And if y'all not willing to do that, let it go. Because, man, I'm telling you, the collateral damage later on down the road is crazy. And then, two, if you ain't willing to do the work, because that's my thing I want to talk to you about now. It's like, okay, doing the work, even if you're not married to somebody, are you willing to do the work? Or are you looking for the other person to do the work and you get to judge the work? Now, I don't know if you know any relationships like that where you're getting graded and degraded, devalued in a relationship because they're grading your performance. I'm sorry. Have you ever met anybody like that?
Yeah, I've been in those. It's like, and you don't know you're being graded until there's an argument.
Did you said a test, an argument?
Then it comes out. Well, you just hadn't even been doing this, and you ain't been doing this, and it's like, yo, why wouldn't you say something when why you just keeping the score and like taking notes? Why wouldn't you say something? So when it's a problem, now when the disagreement comes and it's built up in them, then everything pours out. But like we're talking about, entering into before, know what is the purpose of me? What is the purpose of you wanting to be in a relationship anyway?
Right.
When you be honest about why, not even nothing to do with the other person. When you're honest about why you're entering into a relationship, it should make you sit and really think. I'm entering into a relationship just because I don't want to be alone. I just feel like I need to be with somebody. You going in there selfish. You ain't gonna do nothing but hurt that person. Oh, I'm going into a relationship because you know what? All of my friends are in something, so I don't want to be left out. We all in the relationships mainly we enter into them for the wrong purpose from the start altogether. It has nothing to do about what can me and her do together. What can me and her build together? What are we going to accomplish? Because when people enter, I'll say, man, I don't want to put a statistic out there. So listen, this is my own statistic. I'm just saying this. You can't go and Google it and say that he was inaccurate with his statistics. But I'm going to say 98% of the relationships, all of them are entered into for what am I going to get? What am I going to get out of it? How can I find enjoyment in it? As opposed to saying, what are we going to do? Because you enter into a relationship, there's no more I. It's we. I used to have this discussion with my ex-wife all the time. And granted, I'd have that conversation when I was actually being a faithful husband at the time. That's when I'd have it. I wouldn't dare have that when I was doing my dirt. But when I was doing, I felt good when I was doing right. But I said, and it was the truth though. It's like, it's no more me. It's no more you. It's no more I. It should always be us. What's going to be good for us, for the relationship? Not for me and you. What's going to be good for a relationship? What can we do for the relationship? For the relationship. These connections, I'm gonna just call them connections. They're all about what can I bleed? What can I leech off of you? Really? I mean, they're not relationships, because relationships is a lot of reciprocation. It's supposed to be reciprocation. It all stems from love. If we have God, if we are already walking with God, then we understand I'm coming to bring something to you that's going to make you better. And in making you better, and you carrying the same thing that I'm carrying, you're carrying God, I'm carrying. So boom, we have the same spirit, of the same mind. So we're not going to have a bump in the heads down the road. We're humans. We'll have a disagreement, but we're mainly going in the same course, in the same direction. So we shouldn't be pulling in different directions or constantly bumping heads. That's an indication that we don't belong together. But because the sex is good, we'll stay together. Because they're making enough money and they're giving us a lifestyle, we'll stay together. Because we've had kids, we'll stay together. But not knowing that you're still damaging the kids because you got a chaotic atmosphere around them. The kids can feel the tension between you two. You sleeping in separate rooms. You act more like roommates. You just walk past each other. There's no affection or love in between the people. The kids know that. They see it. They sense it. So then they believe that, hey, boom. They end up saying, because like you said, a lot of things that my dad did, I said, I'd never do those things. I was like, I'll never do that. I'd never do that. And they're trying to avoid doing that thing, you end up walking right into it. That's just like you think about when God was speaking to the children of Israel. He gave them the 10 commandments. He was like, I gave these to you, not for you to try and avoid these things, but for you to be able to identify that these are the things that are put me in offense to God. You don't have to try and fight, because he said if you're righteous, then you don't have to worry about those things. But you can identify when you're getting off track. When people realize that, like, they see that, man, this constantly fighting, this constantly having the battle with an ex-boyfriend, with an ex-girlfriend, with the past husband, with the past wife. I got to keep trying to live up to that. Why you want me to live up to their standard if you left them? If you left them, why should I be trying to live up to their standard or certain parts of them?
Well, you hit something on the head, right? So the children of Israel and Pharaoh and Moses and God. Look what happened. That's what they did. Their heart, this is going back to what I started out with. Your head and your heart is back in Egypt. Because you came into this relationship where you already done told God, hey, every chance
Lord, we'll do what you say.
That's it. And I'm gonna do my thing. And I'm sorry, I'm in trouble. Where you at, God? And then your head and heart is there. You know that, okay, but if I do what Moses say, I got backup. How many relationships where you in your head and heart, good and well, you piecemealing, Like you know your heart and head is with another person, man or woman, and you in this relationship, and then you hear present. See, that's the whole thing. It's like they ask, man, maybe we shouldn't have left Egypt. Maybe we should have. Well, we do that in our own relationships, and what we do, try to compensate for that, and that's what leads to infidelity and adultery and all this other stuff, because we know our love is split, or you done got in this relationship, then you got tested, and that's what enemy's job, because kill, steal, destroy, and then boom, knocked down but not out. We ain't figured it out. We still thinking we knocked down, and then that joker, he gonna say, "Oh, I tell you what you do. You love that one and love that one too, and then we see now I'm cool." No, that's the lies we tell. That's not cool, because look what that did to the children of Israel. And prove my point. You help me out here, Doc. Them jokers got out there in the wilderness, and that generation did not see the promised land. They did not. So we ain't no different. When your heart and head and what you need is split like that, you don't make it. You just don't, and we don't want to hear that. We'll just believe in our heart. Oh, that'll work. That'll work. No, it won't. No, it won't. It's not going to work, because it is not biblical. It has no premise. Like you're serving more than one God in your life. I mean, however you want to look at it. So what you think about that?
I mean, it's so funny we talk about that, because how many times all throughout the Bible God talk about dealing with us as a relationship, as a marriage. He talked about the children of Israel and continue to call them, saying how they just whore behind other men, and they would just their infidelity, their adulterous ways and habits and behavior. He's like, here it is, I'm faithful to you, and he lists, like, when you did this, I was there, right? When you did this, I was still there. This is how much I love you, and you continue to just go and run after the thing that's going to please you immediately, when I can give you long-term stability, but you rather have the thing that gives you that pleasure right now. It looks so much better because there's no standard, and that would be like. This is such a good because at the beginning of the relationship, you let it be, because you know who you are and you already have your boundaries set, not standards, but you have your boundaries, and they're healthy boundaries that, look, this is where I'm going in life. This is what I'm pursuing. This is how I'm doing. This is my lifestyle. This is how I live. I don't get down with this. I don't get down with this. I don't allow this. I don't condone this. Right then, that's sinning. That's letting it be known. This is where I stand. God said, this is how I am. He said, be holy for I am holy.
Yeah.
So you enter into a relationship, you're basically saying the same thing. This is how I live. I need somebody who's just like that. We need to be a mirror of each other.
Yeah.
And if you
great.
Oh, and I like it. And if they're standing on the other side of it, because we can't win a person over. We can't change a person. Mm-hmm. So we're not carrying God, then you know what? That's why I end up just like Paul said. You're beating at the air. You're throwing punches at the air. You're not going to land anything, because we can't do anything from our own power. So we ought to stop. But nobody wants to take responsibility for being selfish and entering into relationships, looking for somebody to fix them, looking for somebody to it's really most of these destructive relationships, they end up being even more destructive, and people continue to be more destructive because they keep looking for somebody else to handle their to handle them in a way that they want to be handled, to make it appear that they're fixed, or that they're healed, or that they delivered from something. So if they can appease me, then I feel like I'm gonna feel good. But the minute they're not appeased anymore, the minute the minute our income starts to go on a decline, she's out of there.
Yeah.
It's no more like, yo, let me help you build it back up. So it goes back to, like, if it's not an image of you, just like God needs us to be an image of Him, I need the woman to be like a reflection of me. She needs to have that strong moral compass. She needs to have that desire for building something, and then it complements whatever she does, complements what I'm doing, and what I'm doing complements what she's doing. It's like not mixing oil and water. All these
And,
they keep entering in relationships like that.
yeah, and I teach something called Lean Six Sigma and Agile, right? And I'm gonna just give an example of statistically how this is supposed to work based on what me and you just talked about. So there's something called a control chart, right? We run numbers just to see if you're hitting what we call the central tendency or the mean or the average. And then every time you do a process, any type of process, how close is it to that center? So you have all these dots, and it's something we don't like to see called variation. Like you so far off from the center of who you're supposed to be or what you're supposed to be doing in that process. What's what we call the voice of the customer or the process? Like what was that standard supposed to be? In our relationships, we're no more different. We all over the map. And there's a fence. It's called an upper control limit and a lower control limit or a spec limit. Like if I'm manufacturing something or making something, what I'm saying is the voice of the customer or the process, we got some standards, and that process better have that product where I want it, where it's supposed to be. And my point is, anything that's inside that fence is acceptable, but anything outside of it, we got a problem. And that's the thing. We don't look at life like that. We don't look at our relationships like that. Like when you don't have that central tendency, that standard, that benchmark, the agreement, like you said, okay, this central tendency. Now we got to set that fence, or now look here. Anything in between, I can deal with. But if you go outside this one, it's two words. One is called common cause variation and special cause variation. And it's simple. Common cause says things happen. Anything in between there, you good. I can deal with that. But special cause variation say you went outside the fence. Dude, we got to have that discussion. You don't let that happen too many times. Here's my point. I'm that guy. Like I'm being transparent as a man. It's a whole bunch of times, man, because you really don't have a standard for yourself. You don't have respect for God. You don't have respect for your children, your marriage, these relationships. You go outside those limits. And why do we do that? Because it's going to be one or two things. Did we set a central tendency or benchmarking standard? Hell no. Most of the time we ain't set that because we lie. We don't want to have the truth about things that really, excuse my vernacular, will piss us off. Like, for instance, hey, tell you what, hey, bro, infidelity, because of the way I came up, I seen my mama do it, my daddy do it, it wasn't no good. That's no. That's outside the fence. Or here's another one. Or my father was an alcoholic, my mom was an alcoholic. I ain't with the alcohol thing. Or I can give you one better. Or check this out, man. You know what? Doing the weed thing and the drugs and all that. Those are the things we don't want to discuss. Or be honest and say, I've been there. I seen what it done to me. And we shouldn't be bringing this to the table because it should be a greater good in a relationship. Like we need to have a real conversation. I don't want my kids repeating history. I don't want to die like that. Man, my uncle just had his wife passed. And he told me, he said, get your butt up here. Anytime, anybody in the family, we have those type things happen. Get up here, Reverend. I said, oh, man. And my life was janky, man. It was raggedy. Like, I'm just, oh, God, man, I'm dealing with substance abuse stuff, man. And I don't want nobody to know. And he said, I need you to speak and do all this. So I talked to my bishop. He said, hey, it's something called progressive holiness. He said, man, we all got our stuff. But he said, man, the stuff that you're supposed to be doing in that fence, you better make it happen. So anyway, I get up there. Me and him got to talking. You know what he told me? He said, hey, man. He said, now, how many people in our family have died from alcohol? I said, Pops did. so and so did, aunt so and so. He said, yeah. He said, now I'm talking to you. He said, how much grace and mercy you want, brother? Titles don't entitle you. You can go down just like them. What the title? How many times we done that? We got titles, but look at boxers. You stay in the game too long, you're gonna get knocked out. So you ain't getting back up. I'm bringing all that up because what you just said previously, man, that's where the crux of the problem is, man. It's like we don't want to be honest about that. I call it the central tendency. Like, where in the middle we supposed to be, and how close can we keep everything we do close to that agreement? And if you don't have that, or that you can't paint that picture, you're going to go outside that fence. And unfortunately, a whole bunch of people got a fence and there's nothing in the middle. There's no benchmark, no standard.
Man, listen, I know we're coming closer to the end, but let me ask you this. So do you think that a reason that when we stay into relationships that we know, how can I say this? Man, I guess I don't know if I can say it as a question, but like you're saying, I like that system that you talk about. It's the same thing. It's saying you have to have a standard. You have to have, this is what I stand on. These are my principles. This is the standard that I live by. I go by. These are the things that I can. These are the things I can tolerate. These, just like God. He doesn't like the sin, but he gives us grace. He's like, but now when you intentionally want to misuse me like a genie, I'm gonna turn you over to what it is that you want to do. I'm gonna let you have at it. But I'm not gonna be there. You're not gonna be able to come and run to me until you're ready to actually leave that stuff alone. Then I'll hear you. So right. I think, you know what continues to make how we endanger ourselves, and we cause our own trauma a lot of the times, because you know what, we compromise in the relationships rather than standing on this. Well, you know what, going back to the beginning, if you don't have any standards, you don't have anything that you standing on, there's nothing that you can say, I agree with this, but I don't agree with that, and you already compromise going into a relationship. They feel like, oh, well, you know what, this is all right. This is all right. And you like, yeah, okay. Yeah. And it just keep on, just like they say, women say with men, give him an inch, he goes and takes a mile.
But you know what's crazy? We hypocrites, because we say that. We'll say, I don't like what you do. I don't like this. And the very next person we're seeking, or our heart and head is with, they just as much a hoe, or they got just as much other stuff that don't meet what. And we'll accept that stuff. Like they just as nasty or whatever, but we'll swear up and down, oh no, they're great, they're wonderful. You're a lie from the pit of hell. No, the very thing we despise in that mate, you better believe if you go back and check your books, you out here still hanging with, or you are seeking out that same person with some of that same stuff. And I'm gonna throw this out here, man. I've been, like I said, I've been an alcoholic since I was 8 years old. So this what happened, right? Rehab. And so I'm crazy. And then I'm gonna let you finish. I said, you know what? Psychiatrist, I'm talking to y'all. What I do? Okay, you need to stop. At least don't smoke no more stuff. No weed, no pills, no. Let's wean you off. That's how I said, wean you off. That's patience. So I said, okay. Now I get down to, you can have some beer. I said, okay. This is the part that one of the psychiatrists called. They said, hey, can I ask you a question? Do you binge drink? I said, yeah. They said, you will never come off when you do that, because one turns into six. So see, I drink one bottle, I'm gonna drink 4, 5 bottles. Now somebody else can just have a drink and they cool. I'm not judging nobody drink, but I'm just letting you know. Now for me, I know that that's a vice I can't play with, because for me, anything I indulge in can be destructive if I'm not careful. That's why I need God. Like I got to have God. Same in a relationship. I think sometimes we just don't understand that's what brings destruction to the relationship, because we ain't got enough sense to understand there's some stuff you just can't do, period, in the relationship. Because what it's gonna do is everything gonna be on fire. And so these are my parting words. I'm pleading, anybody that's hearing this, put your cards on the table. I'm talking about you and God first. And then ask yourself, and you've been saying this the whole time, hey, maybe, just maybe, the person I'm hanging around or the person I'm with or whatever, we got to have a serious conversation in it. Man, if I'm just not built for you, I got to go. You know what I'm saying? So, what's your parting words?
Yeah, I'm going to say, men. I mean, let's not even look at the women. You know what? If we want our women to start being at a certain standard or living in a standard of life, then boom, start with us.
Yeah,
as men, because we are the lead. We're the lead. God put us there in position. So stop being afraid to have standards. Just like Robert said, go and sit with God. So now God you can actually figure out, all right, who am I really? What am I purpose for? Outside of not your occupation, not your role as a father, not your role as a husband, not your role, whatever role that it is that you're portraying, but what is the meaning of my life? Who am I supposed to be? What am I supposed to contribute? What am I supposed to bring unto the better of this world? When you get down to knowing those things about yourself, then you have your solid stance. You have solid ground beneath your feet. You have a solid stance that you can stand with. You can actually be a man with your chest out, your shoulders back, your head up, and when you speak with authority. This is what I do. This is what I won't tolerate. This is what I condone. This is what I'll go with. This is what I'll give lenience on. When you just start to establish those things for yourself, and then a woman will have to respect that. And they won't come with the sideways. They won't come with the games. If they're hurt before, they'll admit it to you, because you know what? They see a strength in you. They see a standard in you. When we get back to being a strength and a standard and not being so compromised and willing to compromise, I mean, compromise and falling down and accepting the things that we know are going to be destructive to us and to a relationship and bring harm to the other person as well. Who's going to be the lead? Nobody's leading. It's up to us to be the lead, because the woman looks for us for the strength, for the standard. For the women look to us and say, I'm so proud. That's my man. But if you're not a man, not standing for something, if other men can't recognize it in you, it's not so much about a play of being the alpha male and being respected as I'm so strong, I'm the Bron, but you stand on something. And just like God said, be holy, for I'm holy. Your woman is going to be a reflection of what you are. So if you got a woman that is whatever, it's because you're whatever. You might be disguising it and hiding it, and no one can see it, but she's a reflection of what you are. So let's get back to creating that relationship with God, so we can get into knowing exactly the meaning of you in this world. Not for a relationship, but what's your meaning? What's your purpose? What is your assignment for this world? What are you here to give in and contribute that's going to be greater? Not looking for you, but what do you have to contribute for greater, for other people to grow off of you? The whole purpose is for others to grow off of us, not for us to take from others. So I would leave it on that. It's like, start looking for what's supposed to be the standard for you. Not just standards, because every individual man has his purpose to go towards. So stop looking at everybody else, and even if it's an alignment, like you started your purpose at the time you started yours. You'll arrive at your appointed time. I start mine. When I start mine, I'll arrive at my appointed time. And if we get to being strong men like that, then we can pull together and we make community, and we can become a wall of a standard.
Yeah.
And then men can come back to having the respect that's supposed to be on us being men, and them stop trying to downplay us so much, because We want to compromise and run behind tail.
Oh, that's so true. So true. Well, peoples, I think we can come out the lion's den now, Daniel. I think we can come out. So we're gonna be here next week. Being on pause.
We
Meaning men. We just taking a pause and have some real conversation. Hope y'all enjoy it. I appreciate you, man. You know, your transparency. Very beautiful.
Man, appreciate you, man.
Yeah, very enlightening. All right, we'll see y'all next week.
Next week.